When you watch a really great magic trick, I feel like half the thrill is actually knowing you're being fooled.
Right, yeah, you're opting into it.
Exactly. You see the magician wave their hand, the dove disappears, and,
Yeah.
you applaud the deception because it's a performance. You bought a ticket.
You know the rules of the game.
Right. But imagine if that exact same sleight of hand was happening everywhere, every single day, just right in front of your eyes.
And you didn't even know there was a magician in the room.
Exactly. Imagine it was dictating, like, what you talk about at the water cooler, what you worry about when you wake up, and even how you vote.
It's a terrifying thought, honestly.
It really is. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are taking a behind-the-scenes look at what I can only call the absolute dark arts of the internet.
Yeah, dark arts is the perfect phrase for this.
Our source material today is a stack of just explosive excerpts from a book called Trust Me, I'm Lying, Confessions of a Media Manipulator, and it's by Ryan Holiday.
And I have to say, it is a profoundly unsettling read.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it completely dismantles the entire premise that the news we read is, some objective reflection of reality.
Right, which brings us to the mission for this deep dive. It's simple, really. We want to shortcut your path, the listener, to becoming incredibly well-informed about how the news you consume is actually manufactured.
Right, getting to see how the sausage is made.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because after we get through this material, the goal is that you will never, ever look at a headline the exact same way again.
You just can't, not once you see the machinery.
We are going to show you the wires holding up the entire illusion.
Yeah.
But to understand that illusion, you really need to understand the illusionist who wrote the book.
Yeah, because Ryan Holiday, he isn't some outside academic observer just critiquing the media from an ivory tower.
Right, he was in the trenches.
Deep in the trenches. I mean, he served as the director of marketing for American Apparel during their absolute most provocative years.
Which were wild.
So wild. And he was a PR mastermind for highly controversial, really high-profile clients like Tucker Max.
He was literally the guy funneling millions of dollars in advertising budgets directly to blogs to explicitly control the news cycle.
Yes. He shaped mass culture from the shadows.
So he is confessing to being the guy who gets paid to deceive the media so the media can deceive you.
Right. He knows where all the bodies are buried because, frankly, he buried them himself.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here is that this text, it isn't just a memoir of a PR guy's clever little stunts.
No, not at all.
It is a rigorous, entirely mechanical expose on the fundamental vulnerabilities of our whole modern media ecosystem.
He's laying it all out.
Step by step. He shows exactly how the, quote, unreality of the internet is constructed from the ground up.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we get into the actual mechanics, I want you, the listener, to just take a second. Think about the last massive viral controversy you read about online.
Yeah, that thing everyone was talking about.
Exactly. The last time everyone on your feed was just outraged over a quote or a billboard or some trending topic. Keep that specific thing in your head.
Because by the end of this deep dive,
You might realize that controversy was completely 100% fabricated.
and to see how that fabrication actually happens in real time, the book details one of Holiday's most audacious campaigns.
Was the Tucker Max one?
Yes. It involves his client, Tucker Max, whose entire brand was basically built on being offensive and controversial.
Right.
So they were launching a movie called I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell, and Holiday needed to generate buzz.
But he didn't just go out and buy standard ads?
No, he essentially orchestrated a crime.
Tell me how this actually played out on the ground, because, I mean, the logistics of it are just wild.
Okay, so picture a totally deserted intersection in Los Angeles. It's like 2 a.m.
Okay.
Holiday is dressed in all black, running around with a roll of tape and some highly obscene stickers he had printed out of Kinko's earlier that afternoon.
Wait, so he's physically doing this himself?
Oh, yeah. His girlfriend is sitting in the driver's seat of a getaway car. He climbs up and he heavily vandalizes a promotional billboard for the movie.
His own movie?
Yes. He defaces it with these massive stickers, implying that something incredibly violent and painful should happen to Tucker Max.
So it's designed to look like the work of furious, outraged local citizens who are just disgusted by the film.
Exactly. But Holiday designed and paid for that very same billboard.
He is literally vandalizing his own advertisement.
Right. So he finishes his midnight vandalism, he hops back in the getaway car, circles the block, and then takes photos of his own handiwork from the passenger window.
Oh my gosh.
He is pretending he's just some shocked citizen driving by.
And then what?
He goes home and immediately emails these photos to local gossip and real estate blogs like Curbed LA.
Under his own name.
No. He uses a completely fake persona, an invented citizen named Evan Meyer.
Of course.
And he writes this message like, I saw these on my way home last night. Good to know Los Angeles hates Tucker Max, too.
And the snowburn effect from that one single fake email is just staggering.
It really is.
I mean, within 2 weeks, with zero actual marketing budget spent on this quote-unquote stunt, that fake outrage translated into very real-world results.
Big time. College students who saw the blog started organizing genuine protests nationwide.
People who had no idea it was fake.
Mm-hmm.
And then FoxNews.com put the backlash right on their front page.
Yep, the New York Post's page 6 started dropping mentions.
And didn't the Chicago Transit Authority actually get involved?
Yes, they literally banned and stripped the movie's ads from their buses because of the perceived public outcry.
Which is just crazy. But the most incredible, ironic part of this entire charade is how Holiday closes the loop.
Oh, the press release.
Yes, he eventually issues an official press release to aggressively answer the very criticism he manufactured in the first place.
So he starts the fire, and then he plays the hero putting it out.
Exactly. The press release headline was something like, Tucker Max responds to CTA decision, and the media just ate it up.
They covered the defense just as heavily as the outrage.
And the result, the movie was based on, shot right to #1 on the New York Times bestseller list.
It's brilliant, but...
But I struggle to call this just clever marketing, though.
Right.
I mean, it feels much darker than that.
Yeah.
It's like a firefighter secretly setting a fire in a neighborhood just so he can charge the city to put it out. But, you know, in the process, the whole town burns down.
That is a perfect way to put it. He's playing with a system that can spiral wildly out of control.
Completely out of control.
And Holiday himself comes to a very similar realization later in his career.
Right. The library moment.
Yeah, the book describes this aha moment he had while doing research at the Los Angeles Public Library. He found a reference to a political cartoon from 1913.
Over a century ago.
Right. It was published in Leslie's Illustrated Weekly newspaper. It's a drawing of a businessman throwing handfuls of coins directly into the mouth of a menacing, multi-armed monster.
And the monster represents the media.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. It represents the yellow press, the sensationalist, profit-driven media of the early 20th century. And the caption underneath reads, "The fool who feeds the monster."
Wow. That is such a striking image. And it really bridges the gap between the past and the present.
It does.
You realize the person in 1913 buying a sensationalist tabloid on a street corner and the person in 2026 rage-clicking a headline on their phone, they're being manipulated by the exact same human vulnerabilities.
Yeah, human nature hasn't changed. And Holiday, standing there in the library looking at this century-old cartoon, he realizes that he is the fool.
Right.
He thought he was the master manipulating the system, but he was really just feeding a modern digital monster.
A monster that was growing larger, more demanding, and just more unpredictable with every fake story he fed it.
Precisely.
So we've seen what this monster does.
Right.
It takes a fake midnight stunt and turns it into a massive national news cycle. But to really protect yourself from this, you have to understand why the monster is so hungry in the first place.
You have to look at the money.
Exactly. We have to look at the underlying economics of the web, and specifically the mechanics of digital advertising.
Because why did those blogs take Holiday's fake email from Evan Meyer and run with it without even checking if he was a real person?
Yeah, why no fact-checking?
It comes down to what Holiday calls the infinite space problem.
Okay, tell me about that.
Well, think about a traditional daily newspaper. It has a physical limit. There are only so many printed pages, which means editors have to be highly selective.
Right. They have to decide what is truly newsworthy to justify the ink and the physical distribution costs.
Exactly. But a blog or a digital news site, it has no back page. The space is infinite.
Right. And their survival depends entirely on programmatic advertising.
Let's break down how that actually works, because it's key. Most of these sites make money based on impressions or cost per click.
Like tiny amounts of money.
Right. They might earn fractions of a single penny every time an ad loads on a screen. So if you are making a tenth of a cent per page view, you don't just need a few thousand readers.
You need millions.
Millions upon millions of views just to keep the lights on.
Traffic equals revenue. I mean, if you don't publish constantly, you don't get clicks. And if you don't get clicks, you can't sell ads.
It's a volume game.
So the core incentive isn't accuracy. It isn't deep investigative reporting. The core incentive is volume and speed. They have a bottomless pit that just must be filled with content every single hour of every single day.
Right. Imagine being a blogger who has a quota to publish like 10 to 12 articles a day.
That sounds exhausting.
You don't have time to verify if Evan Meyer is a real guy who took a real photo. The photo's interesting. It will get clicks, so you just publish it.
And when reality isn't producing enough organic, interesting content to fill that infinite space.
The blogs simply manufacture reality.
Which brings us to politics. Holiday uses examples from both sides of the political aisle to prove this isn't a partisan issue. It is a deeply structural one.
And we should pause here for a second just to be very clear.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, to the listener, we need to state explicitly that we are entirely neutral regarding these political figures. We are not endorsing or criticizing left-wing or right-wing politics here.
Right. We are strictly analyzing the objective media mechanics detailed in the source material. We have no horse in this race.
Exactly. So, keeping that in mind, Holiday looks at the mechanics behind how the blog Politico covered former Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty.
Yeah, this is a great example.
They covered him nearly 2 years before the 2012 election, when Pawlenty wasn't even running for anything.
He was a complete non-candidate.
Yes. So Politico assigns a reporter with a camera and a laptop to just follow this non-candidate from town to town, covering his non-campaign.
And why? Because the New York Times isn't going to spend money covering a guy who isn't running.
Right.
But Politico has unlimited space and needs massive amounts of traffic.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you really start to see the sheer power of these economic incentives.
Oh, yeah.
Political blogs know their traffic absolutely skyrockets during an election cycle. But elections only happen every few years.
So what do? They artificially move up the start of the election cycle purely for profit.
By giving someone like Pawlenty intense daily coverage, they create a narrative entirely out of thin air.
They force the legacy mass media to look at their trending stories and say, oh, wow, we need to cover this guy, too.
They speak the candidacy into existence. The coverage itself creates the reality.
Exactly. Pawlenty actually becomes a candidate because the blogs decided they needed an election cycle right then and there to hit their revenue targets.
And then, the dark side of that exact same coin is what happens when that manufactured candidate's usefulness runs out.
When the traffic dips.
Right. When the traffic from their boring stump speeches wanes, the blogs pivot. They need a massive new injection of page views.
Which usually means scandal.
Yes. Holiday points to Herman Cain, who surged in that exact same cycle. The blogs built him up with endless traffic-friendly posts, and then, when a sensational scandal emerged, they utterly decimated his campaign.
Because it generated a tidal wave of clicks.
It's a pure extraction machine. But, this raises a really big question for me. If these blogs are arbitrarily making up the timeline, and if they are so clearly driven by clicks rather than, journalistic integrity.
Why does the mainstream media fall for it?
Exactly. Why do the heavyweights, the national anchors, the legacy papers keep taking the bait?
Well, they don't catch on because the origin of the story is deliberately and systematically obscured.
Okay.
Holiday outlines this specific 3-step laundering process that PR manipulators use, which he calls trading up the chain.
Trading up the chain.
Yeah, it is designed to hide the fact that a story originated from a completely unverified source.
Okay, let's break down these 3 levels of media because this is the exact playbook. So, level 1 is the entry point. These are your small, local, or super niche blogs. They are massively understaffed. They are starving for traffic to meet those daily quotas we talked about.
And frankly, their editorial standards are basically non-existent.
Right, they're the easiest doors to kick open. So then you move to level 2. And this is the crucial laundering step.
Right, the legacy media blogs. We are talking about the online portals hosted by major legacy brands. Think like Forbes.com or the website of a local CBS affiliate.
Sites that carry the trusted logo and brand prestige of their parent companies?
Yes. But the secret here is that these digital portals often lack the rigorous editorial oversight and fact-checking departments of their print or broadcast counterparts.
They borrow the credibility of the print magazine, but they operate with the frantic speed and recklessness of a level 1 blog.
Exactly. And once a story is reported on level 2, it is officially primed for level 3, the national press.
The New York Times, CNN, the Today Show.
Right. These massive outlets constantly monitor the lower levels.
Because they have to.
Right. And when they see a story gaining traction across level 2 sites, they don't necessarily investigate the core truth of the original event.
No, they report on the fact that the story is trending. They cover the controversy itself.
The psychological pressure driving this is immense. I mean, imagine being an editor at a national desk. You are terrified of missing a viral trend.
You don't want your boss asking why a competitor has a story that's getting thousands of shares and you have literally nothing.
Exactly. That fear of missing out, that editorial panic, is exactly what manipulators exploit.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Holiday proves this isn't just theory. He shares a story about a friend of his who needed to raise money for a community art project on Kickstarter.
Oh, this story is wild.
It is. This friend followed Holiday's exact trading up the chain playbook. He posted a heavily manipulated, totally exaggerated YouTube video of his charity's work to a tiny local Brooklyn blog.
So that's level one.
Yes, and because larger blogs use automated scrapers to just constantly monitor smaller blogs for content ideas.
The New York section of the Huffington Post saw the Brooklyn blog's post and picked it up.
Bam. Now the story is laundered. We're at level 2.
And then Holiday's friend emails that Huffington Post linked directly to a reporter at CBS in Los Angeles.
The CBS reporter assumes the Huffington Post already vetted it, so they do a TV segment using the manipulated YouTube clips.
And from there, it hits the front page of Reddit.
Which puts it on the radar of massive culture blogs like Boing Boing. And the result? The charity easily raises $10,000.
It's incredible. He turned an obscure project into a national headline just by literally walking it up the stairs.
Yeah. It reminds me of a concept Holiday mentions from Michael Citrick, who's a legendary crisis PR executive.
Oh, the lead steer concept.
Yes.
Yeah.
Citrick talks about the lead steer. If you want to move a massive herd of cattle, you don't try to push the whole herd at once.
Right, that requires way too much energy.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
just spook one, steer the lead steer, point it in the direction you want to go, and the entire stampede instinctively follows.
And in the media ecosystem, that tiny, understaffed level 1 blog is the lead steer.
And the national news is the stampede.
The data strongly backs up why the stampede happens, too. Holiday cites a study revealing that an astonishing 89% of journalists use blogs and social media for their primary research.
Geez, 9%.
Yes. And here is the real kicker. The majority of those journalists openly admit they know these online sources lack reliable fact-checking or reporting standards.
Wait, think about what that implies. They know the sources are compromised, but they use them anyway.
Because the structural pressure of the infinite space problem is relentless. They were incentivized by quantity and speed over quality and accuracy.
If they take 3 days to verify a story, a competitor will publish the rumor in 3 hours and just steal all the programmatic ad revenue.
Exactly. The system demands they follow the lead steer, even if they suspect it's leading them right off a cliff.
So far, we've seen this machine used by PR guys who are safely holding the steering wheel, right?
Yeah.
Like promoting a movie, hyping a candidate, raising money for charity.
Right, deliberate manipulation.
But what happens when no one is driving? Like, what happens when this exact same automated escalation process runs on autopilot?
That is the scary truth. The monster cannot be controlled once it is fed.
Right.
The machinery is entirely automated at this point. Misinformation spreads rapidly through the chain based on nothing more than a simple misunderstanding.
Like the Brett Favre example.
Yes. Kurt Warner, the former quarterback, is doing a casual interview with an AOL gossip blog.
Right.
He makes an obvious, totally sarcastic joke that Brett Favre should join the cast of Dancing with the Stars. It's just banter.
But the machinery doesn't care about context, right? It cares about keywords and clicks.
Exactly. 2 days later, the sports blog Bleacher Report links to the AOL piece. But to make their headline punchier, they strip away the sarcastic context entirely.
Oh, no.
They present it as if Warner is seriously urging Favre to join the show. That's level 1 trading up to level 2.
Next, a local TV station website in Iowa sees the Bleacher Report post and writes a short article about this new quote-unquote rumor.
And finally, USA Today picks it up as a massive national headline. Brett Favre joining Dancing with the Stars.
It went from a literal joke to a national news headline in days, purely through the telephone game of trading up the chain.
This raises an important question, though, because, a sports rumor about a reality show is harmless nonsense.
Right, it doesn't matter.
But what happens when you feed a genuinely volatile, dangerous story into this exact same automated escalation process?
Because the algorithm doesn't differentiate between a joke and a threat. It only sees engagement metrics.
Exactly. And that brings us to the tragedy of Terry Jones.
Yeah, this part of the book is heavy.
It is. He was a fringe pastor in Florida who announced a plan to burn the Quran. Originally, this was just a local stunt by an obscure figure trying to get attention in the local Florida press.
That is your level 1 entry point.
And the monster was hungry.
Right.
The local story was picked up by a small niche website called Religion News Service. From there, it started trading up the chain rapidly.
Because dozens of blogs jumped on the outrage. Because outrage guarantees page views.
Right, and this groundswell of online chatter pushed the story right up to level 3. CNN actually invites Jones on the network.
The media essentially built a national figure out of a local agitator purely for ratings.
But as the situation grew more volatile, many major media outlets recognized that giving him a platform was inherently dangerous.
They realized they went too far.
So they tried to institute a blackout to starve the monster.
But you can't starve a system built on infinite space and programmatic advertising. The economic incentives are just too strong.
Right. Holiday explains exactly how the blackout broke. A young college student, freelancing for a wire service called Agents Front Press, decided to write about Jones's follow-through on his threat.
And a wire service is essentially a massive content wholesaler that feeds thousands of news outlets at once.
Yes, because he wrote it for wire service, Yahoo picked it up and syndicated it.
And syndication means robots automatically copy-pasted the story to thousands of other sites on the Yahoo network without a human editor ever reading it or questioning the blackout.
The moment it hit that automated syndication network, the blackout was totally dead. It exploded globally.
Wow.
Within 24 hours, the story had circumvented the responsible editors and reached the Middle East. The result was factual, documented tragedy. Riots broke out in Afghanistan. Nearly 30 people were killed, including UN workers.
It's just devastating. You think about the distance between a PR guy faking an email about a billboard in Los Angeles to a local agitator manipulating the exact same chain of blogs, resulting in international deaths.
The mechanics are identical.
Yes. The only difference is the payload.
It is a fragile house of cards built entirely on a foundation of page views.
I want you, the listener, to really let that sink in. The media ecosystem you scroll through every single morning while you're drinking your coffee is so highly pressurized, so desperately starved for your attention, that a single quote taken out of context, a fake email from a non-existent person, or one reckless actor can trigger international incidents.
The chain is completely exposed.
The overarching lesson from Holiday's Confessions is that the system is not broken. It is functioning exactly as it was economically designed to function.
It is designed to extract attention at any cost.
So, we've covered a massive amount of ground today. We've seen how the infinite space of the internet forces blogs to prioritize programmatic ad traffic over the truth.
We've learned the 3 steps of trading up the chain.
Right, how the fear of missing out pushes small blogs to launder unverified rumors up to legacy media and eventually right to national news desks.
We watched it happen for movies, for political candidates, for charities.
And tragically, we saw how that same uncontrollable monster can cause real-world violence.
I want to leave you with a final, perhaps uncomfortable thought to really mull over.
Okay.
Throughout this deep dive, we've talked about the media as the monster. But Holiday explicitly points out in his book that you are the mark.
Us, the readers.
Yes. Your attention, your credulity is what is being stolen and monetized.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? It means you have to navigate your daily news feeds with an entirely new level of critical awareness.
Absolutely.
When you see a trending topic or a viral outrage, you have to ask yourself, is this a real event? Or is this a lead steer? Am I looking at organic news or a manufactured illusion designed just to harvest my clicks?
Because if we, as a reading public, refuse to pay for rigorous fact-check journalism, if we consistently reward sensational free headlines with our clicks and our outrage, we have to ask ourselves a really hard question. Are the bloggers and the PR manipulators really the monster? Or is our own insatiable, unyielding appetite for free, entertaining outrage the actual monster that forces this entire deceptive machine to exist in the first place?
Wow. If we demand the magic trick, we really can't be mad when we get fooled. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the dark arts of the internet. Keep your eyes open, watch out for the sleight of hand, and we'll see you next time.